dealing with your condition, with the cerebral palsy and everything, in the future, is there like any books that you plan on doing or anything to help those who might suffer from it as well?
Well, you know, actually, before the CM Punk thing even happened, I was trying to dabble in some motivational speaking and stuff. That's something I would really like to do. Actually, one of my goals in life, if I actually make it, because I feel like the story has to have some sort of a happy ending. One of my life goals has always been to kind of try to write my own book. I was really good at English. I went to college for a semester and was doing communications type stuff for broadcasting and like writing and stuff like that. So I kind of always had this goal that I could write a book, and it wouldn't just be interesting from a wrestling perspective, but you know, like I kind of touched on in the interview here and some of the other interviews, like, you know, I had a crazy childhood that sometimes when I look back on, if I wasn't me, if I could step out of my own body and like look at the story, I'd be like, wow, like that kid overcame a lot of crap. But like when I look at it myself, to me it's normal, and it's kind of sick to think of some of the things as normal that I went through. Like, I mean, on a regular basis, I seen like my parents like, you know, punch each other in the face, and my mom would be out all night doing drugs and stuff, and to me, like, it's normal because I lived it. But to other people, that's not normal. You know, like moms and dads like got along and showed affection to each other and did stuff with their kids. I didn't have that upbringing. You know, I can't even remember my parents ever showing affection towards each other, which is weird to think about because I lived with both of them for at least the first 10 years of my life. So I just had a really crazy upbringing, not just because of cerebral palsy, but because of the life that I led because of my mom. And I hope that one day, whether it's through wrestling or not, I can tell the whole story, and hopefully it inspires people, just like how I've told small portions of the story, and you know, for whatever reason, it inspires people right now. It's a great feeling to know that people can look at my story and find the courage and inspiration to overcome things in their own life. It makes me feel like I'm doing a good thing.
Okay. I got a question via Facebook from a Will, who wants to know, I guess he's going back to the whole concussion thing. The person that you mentioned who was the former WWE person, Will was saying was Michael Tarver.
Yeah, it is Michael Tarver.
It's kind of funny that he caused that to happen, and then he came out recently saying how Cena, you know, injured him and whatnot. So
yeah, you know what? I did find that ironic, and you know, here's the deal. Like maybe you know, his real name's Tyrone. Maybe Tyrone's a different guy now, but I know that 5 years ago he almost cost me, you know, my life. And there was two guys involved. One of those guys apologized. Tyrone wasn't one of them. Whether he felt he was wrong or not, the bottom line is I got dropped on my head several times. I almost legitimately died. It's not some, you know, sometimes us wrestlers get lost in this fantasy world of professional wrestling. But there's a point when, you know, it becomes too real. When a guy's about to die in the ring, too real. You know, Tyrone, at the time, I remember we got into it in Pittsburgh because we were on another show a couple of weeks later when I came back from my concussion, obviously. So this was a couple months after the actual concussion. And the promoter says to me, at the time I was teaming up with a guy by the name of Matt Justice, who actually is down in FCW now. His name is Mac Hetfield. We were teaming up, and they were like, oh, do you want to wrestle a tag team match with Tyrone tonight? And I obviously said, no, why would I want to do that? So when he got to the building, he wanted to talk to me. And he went into this hour rambling about how he didn't really hurt me, and I don't know what dying is, and all this other crap. And we got into a pretty heated argument, and eventually got to the point in the argument where I was just like, you know what? I'm going to let him win. And I just smiled. I shook his hand. I gave him a hug, and I said, you know, it was a good talk. Like, you know, you're going to think whatever you're going to think, and I'm going to move on with this. And then, you know, it was hard to see him get the WWE contract because one of the promotions we wrestled for, AIW in Cleveland. He had a going away speech, and I sat in the back as he, on the mic, put me over on the mic, and he basically said that I was underrated, which, I guess I appreciate, but I don't felt he was saying that to cover himself, because, in the same sentence he basically said that giving me a concussion is what got noticed by other promotions and eventually got a WWE contract. And that doesn't really make sense to me. Like, why? I think if WWE knew about that, I don't think he would actually have gotten a contract. I don't think they want him to give John Cena a concussion or Randy Orton a concussion. So, I don't know. I just, in a way, I kind of felt, I don't want to say I felt good about his release, but in general, I guess, the old thing, what goes around comes around. And, like I said, he never apologized to me. It's kind of something that, I'm always going to remember, that he never apologized for almost costing me my life. So I'm not bitter about it. Maybe he's a changed guy, but all I'm saying is, it is what it is, I guess. And I've moved on to better things, and hopefully he's doing something he enjoys now too.
Okay, fair enough there. I mean, things do happen and moving on there. But that kind of seems to be the story of Gregory Iron, with all that you've come through, all you've overcome there, what's the message? What's the overall message in your mind as if you were going to tell these guys there, somebody who's looking up to you as if somebody was looking up to, as you looked up to Zach Gowen? I've been saying lately, one of my favorite lines to say as of late is, not everyone's going to understand professional wrestling. You might not even like professional wrestling, but I think everyone can understand passion. And no matter if you're short or tall or big or small or black and white or you have a disability or not, the bottom line is, if there's something out there that you're passionate about and you truly love it, you go after it and pursue it. One of my biggest problems was I was always afraid of failing. I was so afraid that when I walked in that training school in 2006, that I would suck and I would look at wrestling different, and I would just have this low self-esteem, and I wouldn't know what to do with my life if I wasn't good at wrestling. But I wasn't going to know that for sure unless I actually tried. So as cliche as it sounds, if you love something, you got to pursue it, no matter what people say, no matter how many people tell you can't do it or that you're not good enough. You need to try, because if I never tried, there's so many life experiences that I've had in the last 5 years of professional wrestling that would have never happened if I didn't get the courage and the desire to follow my dreams. So if you have that passion for something, by all means, go out there and pursue it. Because if you screw up, at least you tried. You don't want to live in regret. And I didn't want to live in regret. And that's why I became a professional wrestler. Man, oh man, there it is right there. Deep here on Hit the Ropes.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this. You a minute ago we talked about, Michael Tarver, Tyrone as you call him, and his, one of your, I guess, lower points in ring. Circle background to your higher points with CM Punk. At that point, did you know what was going on while it was happening there? And did he say anything to you after y'all walked through the curtain?
The funny thing is, I thought it was odd leading up to the show, because the promoter, Danny Daniels at AAW, who's a great guy, he kept texting me and texting my friend Ricky over and over again, making sure I was coming all week. And I thought it weird because I'd never been on anything other than a dark match every time I'd been to AAW. And a couple days before the show, I find out I'm teaming with Colt Cabana. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And then I find out we're teaming up for the tag team titles. I'm like, well, that's even weirder. I've never even been on the regular show. Why would I randomly team with Colt Cabana? So I was nervous because, I love Colt. I've asked him for advice in the past, and I've been on several shows with him, and he's a great guy, and he's a great wrestler, someone I've looked up to in a lot of ways. So I was nervous teaming up with Colt. I get to the show, I put on my gear, I'm going to the ring, and I see two guys standing through a doorway. One guy I haven't said hello to the left, and another guy that I didn't recognize on the right. I see him turn his head to the side, and it's CM Punk. I'm about 2 feet away from him. I'm like, oh, God, CM Punk is here in the building right now. Like, holy crap. And so I, in an effort to segue to saying hi to CM Punk because I was completely nervous, I shake hands with the guy on the left. I'm like, oh, hi, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Greg. And I look at Punk, and I go, oh, hi, I'm Greg. And the funny thing is, I remember thinking, he looks at me with a smirk and just kind of goes, hi. Like, he knows who I am. Like, he knows exactly who I am. And it made more sense afterwards when the whole thing went down. But, like, you know, I was talking to some other guys I rode with, and I was like, oh, man, I really want to ask him for advice. And what should I do to get to the next level? Because I think for you know, at least a year now, I've been looking for, what do I do next to get to that next level? Like, I started wrestling for Chikara. I'm having this chance at Dragon Gate now, but I'm like, what do I do to get to the next level to get noticed by WWE or TNA? What do I have to do? And I wanted to figure out that advice. Well, CM pretty much made that happen for me, along with Colt Cabana. You know, after the match, Colt said some great things about me, which, if it would have ended there, would have been perfect. Very emotional, touched my heart. Told me to stand in the ring, take a bow, but he still had the microphone. So he leaves the ring, and I'm like, oh, God, he's bringing out CM Punk right now. In my mind, I thought I was going to be a small part of this angle on WWE television. Like, he was going to come out, maybe shake my hand and acknowledge my existence, and then, you know, continue the story with WWE. To my surprise, you know, he tells me, you're effing awesome. And I think if you didn't know for sure, knowing who I was, or even if you didn't know who I was, up until that moment, when he said you're effing awesome, I tried so hard. If you go back and watch the video, I tried so hard not to break down and cry in the ring like a little girl because inside, I can't tell you how much I love professional wrestling. I might have a disability, but it's all I think about. It's all I care about. So to have arguably the greatest wrestler in the world right now, along with the most underrated wrestler in the world, tell me that I'm awesome. If I never do anything in professional wrestling, you know, in that moment I was thinking to myself, this is the most awesome thing ever. Like, no one could ever tell me I suck again because two of the best just told me I'm great. And it was an overwhelming feeling because, you know, here's a guy that, like I said, you know, 6 years ago before I started getting into wrestling in the ring, I never thought I'd be a wrestler. And now I'm standing in the ring with the WWE champion and Colt Cabana, and they're telling me that I'm great. So I've overcome all this stuff, and I've got to this pinnacle, and I'm living my dream. And it was a very surreal moment. It was almost dreamlike, like, because the whole scenario doesn't make sense. Like, if I were to go to sleep and I woke up the next day and I told you, like, oh, I had this stupid dream last night. I was on a random independent show in Chicago, Illinois, and I teamed with Colt Cabana for AAW, a promotion that I never wrestled for on the regular show. And then CM Punk randomly came out, and he told me I'm awesome, and then they put me up on their shoulders and walked around the ring. Like, it just didn't make sense. It still doesn't register in my mind. But it was an incredible feeling. And afterwards, obviously, I had no reason to be shy going up to CM Punk and talking to him because what was he going to do? Say, get away from me, kid? Like, I don't got time for you after you just said all those kind things about me in the ring. So it was a lot less nerve-wracking to walk up to him and go, hey, do you got a second so I can talk to you? And he said, yeah, sure. And I pulled him aside. I just tried to pick his brain and figure out, like, what do I do next? And it was funny because he said, well, I'm sure this video is probably going to help you a lot. And I didn't even think about that because, you know, you hear about those internet sensations all the time. And to be like that for that moment, like, you know, 20 minutes later after I'm done talking with Punk, I turn on my phone and I have like 20 text messages. And then I go on the internet and it's already on YouTube and all this other stuff. It was really crazy. And Punk gave me a lot of good advice. And I'm trying to stay in contact with him and Colt. And they're helping me out in as much as they possibly can. It's just a really good feeling to know that those guys did that for me because, you know, Colt pulled me aside before he left and I said, why did you do this for me, man? I don't know what I did, but I owe you. He said, don't worry about it. This is what we call in this business a gift. And I almost like cried again like a little girl when he said that because it was almost like a dramatic line out of a movie. And I was like, but why? Like, what have I ever done for you? And he was all like, don't question it. Just, this is a gift. And now you have to make the most of it. And he just walked away, you know, to get dressed. He said, I'm going to go get dressed now, and that was it. And that will always stick out in my mind. And, I thank Punk, but honest to God, I can't thank Cabana enough because obviously he was the one that arranged this and made it happen. I can't thank, Cabana enough for seeing something in me, seeing something good enough in me that he took the time to arrange something like that he didn't have to do, other than the fact that he's an amazing human being just trying to help someone else live their dream.
Man, oh man.